I love that lesson from my dad too, is you're gonna go through hard times and it can break you. Or you can choose to be happy. You can choose to learn from that and move on. People come and say, "Oh, I knew your dad, and he's just the most delightful guy." His life wasn't without hardship. In fact, severe. My parents had 7 children, 5 survived. So I had an older sister that I never knew. I'm the youngest of the 5 surviving boys who was involved in a terrible accident when she was 5 and passed away. I mean, you can imagine a 5-year-old little girl, and the only girl that my parents had, Dixie Ann. My grandma Elton was from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and so as a tribute to his mom, they named her Dixie. Terrible tragedy. He talked about that for a year he had a pain in his heart that never went away. He would visit her grave every Sunday and talk to her. I remember as my dad was getting older, my brother Byron went to talk to Dad, and he said, just off the cuff, he goes, "Dad, do you ever think about Dixie? Dixie Ann?" And he says, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, I'm just wondering. I mean, do you ever think of Dixie?" He goes, "Every day. I think about her every day." So, and that's a lesson as well. And then I had a younger brother that, it was a doctor's mistake. It was a doctor's mistake in both their deaths, actually. My sister, when she went to the hospital, they kept her overnight. They thought she was going to be okay. They didn't catch that she had internal bleeding and she bled out. She didn't have to die. Shouldn't have. And my younger brother, my mom has this rare blood, Rh negative, and you have to do a certain thing or the mother's immune system actually attacks the immune system of the baby, and the doctor missed it. I remember going to his funeral. I was like 4 or 5 years old. I was thinking, what's wrong with that baby? It looks fine to me. So again, tremendous heartache, and yet chose to say, yeah, but so what are my options? I could wallow in that sorrow, be easy. No one would blame him. Or we can build on 5 beautiful boys. Let's move forward. So, I love that lesson from my dad too, is you're going to go through hard times and it can break you. Or you can choose to be happy. You can choose to learn from that and move on.
That's really powerful. I have a theme that rolls through every conversation that I have on this podcast, Jester, that it's the gratitude through the hard things that really makes it count. And it's, why is this happening? Or how is this happening for me? Not why is this happening to me? And people that are able to make that shift in the conversation. And it sounds like you saw that with your parents, that they chose.
Yeah. And Dad was always at the center of that. He really was. He'd say, hey, we can laugh or we can cry. Laughing's better. and he laughed a lot.
Okay, so I had someone on the podcast, one of my first guests. His name was Bob Goff, and he's amazing. He's one of the people that, of all people I've ever met in life, he's the one that lives the most all in. He is just spectacular human. And he said something to me when I asked about, a pivot point in his life, an important pivot point. And he says, well, one of my biggest pivot points was when I learned that I'm not my father. And I was curious about that. He says, well, because he says, I think we're all in some ways a reaction to or a reflection of our father or our parent, right? And both are beautiful.